is Stephen Cohen. I'm responsible here at the Mirowitz Center for Special Programs, and we are delighted to welcome so many of you here today to join in commemorating a very important and historic moment in contemporary Jewish history. It's a pleasure to welcome you all, and I ask you to look at our Facebook page and to also look at our e-blast to see what upcoming programs we have lined up for the remainder of the year. It's my enormous pleasure to introduce to you my friend and colleague, the Curator and Director of Education at the St. Louis Holocaust Museum and Learning Center, Dan Rich, who's going to introduce today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I am Dan Rich, Curator and Director of Education at the Holocaust Museum and Learning Center. I just want to mention we're just embarking on a significant expansion, and that will ceremonially begin this Sunday with our groundbreaking at 2 o'clock. Please contact the museum if you want further information about that. As Stephen said, this program does commemorate Kristallnacht, the pogrom of November 9th and 10th, 1938, a turning point in the history of the Holocaust, when, using the pretext of the assassination of a German official by a German Jewish teenager, that became the reason for mass violence, the pogrom that rocked Germany, Austria, and the Czech areas that had already been occupied, with thousands of businesses and homes vandalized and destroyed, thousands of synagogues destroyed, and ritual objects and Torahs desecrated, tens of thousands of men and boys arrested, put in what they called protective custody. None of this was done secretly. It was covered by newspapers and media all around the world, and everyone got very upset about it. No one did very much about it. It was the transition of oppression by law to oppression by violence. If there was a silver lining, it was that it really showed the German Jewish population things were not going to get better. At this point, they would go wherever they could, to Shanghai, to the Dominican Republic, places that would be very foreign to them. They would put their children on kinder transports so that at least the children would be safe in the hope that they would reunite later. Again, it's one milestone in the history of the Holocaust when the noose tightened and things move on into a much more violent direction. It's an important moment to commemorate, and we're very pleased at the museum to support this program. Musical Memories of the Concentration Camps. And it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter. Phyllis Hyken began studying the piano at the age of 5. She was a piano performance major at Washington University. She has accompanied singers, instrumentalists, choirs, and variety shows throughout the St. Louis area. After a 5-year stint as a registered music therapist and assistant professor of music therapy at Maryville University, Phyllis returned to her first love, the piano, where she maintained a private studio in her home until 2012, when she retired from teaching. In 2009, Phyllis became a docent for Opera Theater of St. Louis, where she continues to give illustrated lectures on opera. Again, it's my pleasure to introduce Phyllis Hyken.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm really honored to be here giving this presentation today in honor of Kristallnacht. So to start with, this is what I'm going to talk about. The amount of music that came from the concentration camps is so vast that there's nothing to do but zero in on just some of it. So I'm going to first introduce you to the man who has made it his life's work to preserve the music from the camps. Second, I will examine the lives and music of 5 composers who were imprisoned in the camps. Third, we will view 3 excerpts from an opera that was performed in the camp by children. This presentation will last 40 or 45 minutes, and then there will be time afterwards for question and answers. We're going to screen share now. Give it a second.
Looks perfect.
Good. Okay. First, I want to introduce you to this unusual man, Francesco Lotoro, composer, pianist, musician. He was born in 1964, well after the war, in Barletta, Italy. It's a town in southeastern Italy on the Adriatic. He studied piano at several Italian conservatories, Bari, which is near Barletta, and he also studied in Budapest. His focus was on Bach. But in the 1990s, he conceived the project of collecting music created in captivity. He collected, restored, completed, recorded a 48 CD collection. He received packages of music and documents from all over the world. In 1995, he founded the Orchestra Musica Judaica solely to perform this music. He searched the world for survivors. He met with families of survivors. He reviewed the archives in Israel. In 2014, he and his wife, Grazia, and other partners established, get ready for this, Foundation Institute of Concentrationary Music Literature in Barletta, in this little town. It is a nonprofit that maintains and archives all the music scores. The Jewish National Fund of the UK is a sponsor. The results are over 8,000 music scores, 12,000 audiovisual and paper documents, and 3,000 nonfiction books. But first view this excerpt from December 2019. It's a piece from 60 Minutes, a little clip. So where is it?
Just leave it on the step.
And when it really mattered, you trusted ADT because staying home or venturing.
Aided by his wife Grazia, who works at the local post office to support the family, logged more than 8,000 pieces of music, including symphonies, operas, folk songs, and gypsy tunes scribbled on everything from food wrapping to telegrams, even potato sacks. The prisoner who composed this piece used the charcoal given to him as dysentery medicine and toilet paper to write an entire symphony, which was later smuggled out in the camp laundry.
He's using his dysentery medication as a pen, and he's using toilet paper as paper.
Yeah.
And that's how he writes a symphony.
When you lost freedom, toilet paper can be freedom.
It's a test of forcefulness, how far artists will go to create. It's also a testament to the range of emotions that prisoners experience.
What kind of music is this? This is 1944 in Buchenwald in a camp.
Do you hear the march?
This is a march.
This is surely to be scored for orchestra. It's a march.
Latoro isn't just collecting this music, he's arranging it and sometimes finishing these works.
Is this completed work or is this only partial?
No, they are only the melodies.
This tender composition was written by a Pole while he was in Buchenwald concentration camp. Latoro says that if music like this isn't performed, it's as if it's still imprisoned in the camps. It hasn't been freed. This wasn't an obvious calling for an Italian who was raised Roman Catholic. But from age 15, Latoro says he felt the pull of another religion.
You converted to Judaism. You say you have a Jewish soul. Define what that means.
Ci fu un rabbino che mi spiegò che quando una persona si converte,
There was a rabbi who explained to me that when a person converts to Judaism, in reality, he doesn't convert, he goes back to being Jewish. Doing this research is possibly the most Jewish thing that I know.
è un compito umano, è un dovere.
We Jews have a word which expresses this concept, mitzvah. It's not something that someone tells you you must do. You know, as a Jew, that you must do it.
Shop online at the Google Store to get the latest home tech by Google. Hey Google, play some music. Visit Google.
Okay, go to the next. No, don't go to the next slide. So this story appeared on 60 Minutes in December of 2019. The chairman of the adult ed committee of my synagogue sent me the clip. He wanted me to do a piece on it. Well, at the time I was really, really busy with opera theater, but guess what? COVID came and opera theater was canceled. And Ralph, the chairman, reminded me, and I said, oh, great, I need a project right now because I don't have anything else to do. And by the way, there is also a film available on YouTube that was made showing Latoro doing his research in many areas of the world. I don't know exactly how this man became interested in this vast project and have the motivation to follow through in such a comprehensive manner. Turns out he was always interested in Judaism and felt that he, originally a Roman Catholic, was first a Jew. I thought perhaps he was a Marrano, and it turns out that his grandfather's grandfather was Jewish. Okay, so next slide. I'm going to show you, this is a map of the camps. And all those little, it's not a great map, but you can see all those little dots are concentration camps, Nazi determined camps is there. There were, from 1933 to 1944, more than 40,000 Nazi determined camps. There were 19 in Germany and 12 in Poland. There were 10 extermination camps, mostly in Poland. Now, the two that are circled in red, the one in Czechoslovakia or the Czech Republic, that is Theresen, or Theresienstadt, as the Germans called it. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The other circle in red is Auschwitz-Birkenau, which was one of the big execution camps, the largest death camp. So where do you start when you've got 8,000 pieces of music to look at or listen to? To be practical, I had to set limits. The 48 CD set that Latoro created sells for over $600. So I wasn't going to do that. I chose to buy one CD and then just download the music, which was much less expensive. The first CD I bought was $30 and it contained all instrumental music. Well, that's great, but I wanted some vocal music as well. So I downloaded a number of these, but of course, none of these were in English. Then how do I get a song translated with only an audio version? So I had to buy another CD. This time it was $48.95, but it came with a booklet with words. So I was so happy about that. But of course, the words weren't English words. So I was able to find two doctors that translated for me. One translated the German and one translated the Czech, and you will hear those today. Of course, I had to narrow my focus even further. I chose to concentrate on just one camp, Terezin, which was located 60 miles north of Prague, and 5 composers that were imprisoned there. Also, there was an orchestra there and many scheduled concerts as well as operas. In fact, in 1944, when the Nazis became aware of all the music being made in Terezin, they remodeled the camp, sent away many prisoners so it wouldn't look crowded. They created beautiful lawns and walkways and made a propaganda film named in German, "The Fuhrer Gives the Jews a City." Terezin became a model camp for the Red Cross. They had the Red Cross come through. In the film that you will see, there are children singing Hans Krasch's opera, Brundabar, which was conducted by Pavel Haas, another composer that I will talk about today. But in 1945, when the propaganda project was over, the Nazis shipped 18,000 prisoners, including the entire cast, to Auschwitz, where they were all murdered in the gas chamber. So you can see why I decided to focus only on Terezin, because of the huge amount of music that played there. Not to say that there wasn't music in many other camps. The 5 composers that I will discuss briefly and play some excerpts of their music are Rudolf Carrel, Pavel Haas, Gideon Klein, Victor Ullmann, and Hans Krascha. But first, go ahead. This is not any of them. This is Johannes Brahms. And the reason I just want to play a little bit of the first movement of his 4th symphony, because Rudolf Carrel used that theme to write his own theme and variations. So listen to it briefly and try to keep it in your head while I talk about the composer for a minute. Again. Okay. Now keep that theme in mind. Okay, so this is Rudolf Carrel, born in Czech, born in 1880, studied in Prague, studied composition with the great Czechoslovakian composer Dvorak, who lived from 1841 to 1906. So he was right there. Taught at the conservatory in Prague until the German occupation authorities then made him quit his post. In 1943, he was imprisoned for taking part in the illegal resistance. Using letters, uncensored, he was able to smuggle 6 of his works that he had composed there. In February 1945, he was imprisoned in Terezin. The wardens and doctors, and this is the one Lotura was talking about, secretly got him folded toilet paper with the pentagram on it. The pentagram are the 5 lines and 4 spaces that you write music on. He used charcoal to write compositions on this toilet paper. So, he created his own theme and variations like that from that Brahms. So you're going to hear that. And then I'm just going to play a small part of this theme and variations because it's 26 minutes. But notice the classical style, very similar to Brahms, but still a touch more modern in the harmonies, very romantic. By the way, Lotura has done all the arranging and is playing on the examples you hear today. Okay, so I hope that you could hear the similarities between the Brahms symphony and his theme. And next, we're going to talk about Pavel Haas, born in 1899 and died in 1944. Also Czech, born in Brno. He studied composition and conducting at the conservatory there. He was a brilliant student of Leos Janáček, another maybe not quite so famous composer as Dvorak, but Czech composer, also nationalistic using folk song, but a bit more modern. By 1921, Haas had written more than 30 works, string quartets, symphonies, and operas. He later lived in Bonn, Germany, and worked as a free composer. But in December 1941, he was imprisoned in Terezin, then brought to Auschwitz in October 1944, and died there the following day in the gas chamber. Since he spent time in Germany, he surely was influenced by Arnold Schoenberg with his modern style, dissonance, unusual rhythm, almost grotesque and percussive. Let me just digress here for a minute to say a few words about Arnold Schoenberg, the founder of the second Viennese school. That doesn't mean much, but if you know the first Viennese school consisted of Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. So, and Vienna was the center of culture in the 19th and 20th century. Schoenberg was the founder of what's called the 12-tone school. And I'm going to try to explain that to you as simply as I can. But the musical alphabet goes from A to G. That is seven notes. And then if you look at the piano, in between some of those notes are black keys, 5 of them. So 7 plus 5 equals 12. And the composer takes every note and puts it in the row and makes a theme out of that long 12-note theme and uses pieces of that to create his composition. So usually in the beginning of the piece, if it's a 12-tone piece, you hear the row performed first. Okay, now, let's see. All right, Schoenberg himself was Jewish, but managed to see the handwriting on the wall in time and left Austria in 1933 for the US. Now back to Pavel Haas. His suite Opus 13 recalls a happy life in Vienna. There's 5 movements to the suite. I'm going to play the middle movement. The form is kind of an arch. So the middle movement is the climax. It's the climax of expression. It's very rhythmic. It's dissonant, almost jazzy, 2-note slurs. So you can tell the difference between Haas's music and Carroll's music. So this is from the suite Opus 13, the Danza. Okay, the next composer I'm going to talk about, and he was by far the youngest. He lived from 1919 to 1945. So he was 24 years old when he died. He's also Czech, studied music after grammar school graduation at Prague Conservatoire until the German occupation when music schools were closed. That was November 1939. He was thought to have a brilliant career ahead in music, but at the end of 1941, he was deported to Riesen, where he became one of the leading contributors of the artistic life there. As you could see, his music showed influence from not only Janáček, but all the way to Schoenberg. And you're going to hear you're going to hear his sonata. The beginning of it, because I want you to hear the 12-tone row at the beginning. And there's a little bit of a stop, and then it starts into the third movement after that. Again, very percussive, very marchy. Here, this is the row. Don't. Let's start it again. Okay, this is Victor Ullmann, born in Silesia, Poland. His father was an officer in the army, and his mother, both were Jewish, converted to Roman Catholicism. In 1914, Ullmann moved to Vienna to study music. He volunteered for the army during World War I. Afterwards, he attended Schoenberg Seminar in Vienna and continued his musical studies in Prague. He held a position in the New German Theater, which was in Prague. He returned to Prague composing 50 works, 18 were saved. His basic principle of music was atonality, that is, no tonal center, a la Schoenberg. He composed 3 piano sonatas and an opera, plus lieder. Lieders are just a type of German song, usually solo, for a solo voice and piano accompaniment. Okay, so here I'm going to play for you the third movement of a sonata that he wrote. And again, the music is very percussive, held together by motifs, I should say, satirical, almost bangy and percussive. Okay, now these are the lyrics, the translated from German lyrics to a song by the same composer. Again, the music is plodding and sad. These children are put to work, probably child labor, and you can feel how hard everybody is working. There is death between the stacks, it says. So I'm imagining that there are children that are dying while they're working and starving, near death. And those on golden seats, I liken it to the Germans maybe enjoying watching their exhausting labor. So here is the Cutters, I call it the Reapers song.
Das Korn und mich einen, der Garbe von Garbe zu Garbe, ich rauche den Tod. Wie schwimmen die Lippen, da Lippen so
I want to play this others. Now, this is also a song by Rudolph Carroll. Rudolph Carroll, this is, okay, I'm mixed up. Rudolph Carroll is the first composer that you heard with the theme and variations like Brahms' Fourth Symphony. This is a song that he wrote and it's upbeat, thank you. It's spirited march, upbeat, and it's a freedom song. And it talks about if we unite, we'll be strong. And our enemies may never come back. It's just, no, you're right.
Odstaliśmy první sečetru a je nám vítaná pro krásné příští našich dětí, vzhůru země zdeptaná. Víte, kde se dá pomstě kruté, postaň země má. Pomstě kruté, postaň země má.
Okay. Now I want to play another piece of music by Rudolph Carroll because it's a polka. It's called the Pankrak polka, and Pankrak was a suburb of Prague. So this one is marching, no music, no lyrics, but it's a really upbeat piece. Okay. So wasn't that was fun? I like that one. Go on. Now the next composer, the last composer I'm going to talk about, is Hans Krusch. He was born in 1899, died in 1944. Came from an affluent family. His father, in fact, he was so wealthy, his father would hire ensembles so that his son could hear his works played. Even though he was quite aware of the musical style of Schoenberg, he believed in composing melodic music. He also spent time in Paris where he admired the music of Stravinsky. He even had compositions published in Vienna and Paris. And after spending several years in Terezin, he left for Auschwitz in October 1944. Now, he wrote this opera Brundabar, which found its way to Opera Theater of St. Louis in 2009 and was performed as a children's opera there in the fall. The Brundabar, he was an organ grinder man, symbolized the bully Hitler. But the Germans didn't seem to get the idea because it was performed many, many times in the camp. The story, it's a simple story. And I'm going to show you 3 excerpts and try to tell you about it in between. Jack and Anika are brother and sister whose father is dead and mother is ill. And they're trying to get help. They're trying to get milk to help their sick mother. They're in the street of the town trying to figure out how to get money. Yeah. It gets louder.
He lost his daddy long ago. He needs a sister, Anika. Their sick mother is home in bed. Everyone calls me Papa Jack. I lost my daddy long ago. This is my sister Annika. Our sick mother is home in Winter came in, the day was cold. He wore big glasses, he was old. He sat down next to Mommy's bed. With his cold hands he touched her head. After a while, in lowered voice, he said to us, "Don't make such noise. Milk and sleep, that's your mother's need. Go buy some for her, go and tea. Milk and sleep, that's your brother's need. Go buy some for her, go and tea. Milk and sleep, that's your mother's need. How can we buy some? How indeed?"
I forgot to tell you that this excerpt is from an international school in Cape Town, South Africa. So I was able to find it. I was thrilled because it is in English. The next excerpt I'm going to show you, the children are trying to figure out how to raise money. And you'll meet Brundabar now in this excerpt. He is the hurdy-gurdy, or the organ grinder. He has a monkey, it's a little child. The hurdy-gurdy is so loud that nobody can hear anything else. And Brundabar collects money from everyone on the street as the organ grinder. Go ahead.
I don't think they liked our song. Was it childish or too long? What the grown-ups want to hear? The kids don't know, I fear. No matter how loud we sing, nobody hears anything. When he plays that hurdy-gurdy, he makes so much noise that in spite of all my efforts, I cannot hear my own voice. This musician without talent plays here every day. His music is boring. He should go away. Who is screeching, squealing here? These darn noises hurt my ear. Who is making all that fuss?
That trip is disturbing us.
Full of mischief in their eyes. Do you think this is nice? Those two pests, acting all tough. How they hold their noses up.
And the rascal at a glance, I took all this were a dance.
He's just a little skirt in a dirty worn-out shirt. He can yell, he can scream and shout. He's the king of noise, no doubt.
I'll have you kids put in jail.
That'll fix him without a fail. Gentlemen, we beg your pardon.
Shut up now. Shut up and thunder. How do you behave, I wonder?
Gentlemen, we beg your pardon.
Silence and get out of here.
They are overcome by fear.
Naughty children want a father. If I only were their father, I would teach them proper manners, courtesy, respect, and honor. And you kids don't make a riot. Where I rule, you must be quiet. Here's my empire, I'm the Tsar, organ grinder, Burundi bar. When I play and turn my handle, sing with me, don't make a scandal. Don't you like my music? Making out a hero, you'll be aching. Of this show, I am the star. Organ grinder, Burundi bar.
Okay, so the children are trying to figure out a way where they can sing beautifully and they can collect money, and Brundabar will not be able to control them. So they make a plan with the sparrow, the dog, and the cat helping them. And they form a children's chorus, and they do collect money. And of course, Brundabar is not happy about it. he's being ignored by the crowd. So he tries to steal Joe's money, but the children chase and catch him and return the money to Jack or Joe. They march as they sing about how they were brave and worked together to achieve their goal. The final words were, "He who loves his dad, mother, and native land, who wants the tyrant's end, join us hand in hand and be our welcome friend."
Wow, it's unbelievable! Annika, look, the pail is full! Mr. Milkman, please exchange it. Milk for money.
Not so fast! Just wait a second. Not until my feet's been reckoned. What's in the pail? I think I'll take it. It's mine. This can't be spent. This is my street, and this is my rent. Oh, no! No!
Over the tide, beat your drum and show us your steel. We won a victory since we were not fearful. Since we were not tearful, the bullies overthrown, for we were not alone. That's the whole point of it. My darling little friends, our opera now ends. It's getting very late. You must go home, but wait. Don't say goodbye just yet. We'll send you on your way once we have sung once more our song for you today. We won a victory over the tyranny. Sound trumpets, beat your drum, and show us your steel. We won a victory since we were not fearful. Since we were not tearful, the bullies overthrown, for we were not alone. That's the whole point of it. Children big and small, they listen to our call. Friendship will conquer all. Join us hand in hand and be our welcome friends.
Notice that the music is deliberately repetitious and childlike. The songs are strung together with spoken dialogue, and the harmonies are similar to that of Kurt Weill, who also escaped Germany in 1933 and came to New York in 1935. His style is strong rhythmically, a little bit jazzy. It has simple melodies, but disturbing harmonies. There's an ascending melody that represents the children, and there is a strong rhythmic march, as you noticed at the end, which is a motif for their defeating Brundabar. In closing this presentation, I have tried to give you an idea of the kind and caliber of music lost in the concentration camps by looking at just one camp and in Terezin, and I've only shown you the tip of the iceberg. Much of this music and information is available on the internet for further investigation. The music varies from symphonies to polkas, all arranged and recorded by Lo Toro. We have to pay tribute to this man who took on a vast project and managed to find a long buried treasure. And now I'd like to open whatever I open here for question and answers if there are any.
Phyllis, how did all this music survive?
It survived with relatives of the people that, what would you call it? The predecessor, the people that came after the children of the people in the camps.
Did they find some of this music hidden in the camps after they were liberated?
I don't know that. I have to ask Mr. Lotoro.
Yes, some of it was found in the camps.
Okay.
It was. Thank you, Kathy.
And some was smuggled out.
Mm-hmm.
I did mention some smuggling going on there. Yes.
It seemed like the first one, Carol, was much more in the traditional late 19th century style, and the others were much more like the second Viennese school.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, you're right in that he's definitely more romantic, more obviously influenced by Brahms, who was actually, I think he died in 1904 or something like that. So I can't remember exactly when he died, but he
97
was living in that period.
Right.
So he was definitely an influence. I don't remember if Carol was the oldest of the 5 composers I mentioned or not. I guess
I wrote it down 1880.
Yeah, I think he was the oldest.
Uh-huh.
And that's why he was more.
And he was less influenced by the Schoenberg and 20s.
Right. Right. You're right. Anything else?
I'm not seeing anyone at the moment.
I'm sorry?
I'm not seeing anyone at the moment. Anyone else have questions? You can chat or you can raise your hand.
Yes, were musical instruments allowed in the camps?
Absolutely, yes. I was just reading something about an article about a woman was going to be imprisoned, and a friend of hers found out that she played the cello, and that helped her. That made life easier if you could play in an orchestra. Yes, they had orchestras. They had their instruments. Amazingly.
Amazing.
And are any of these CDs going to be available at our museum here at the Holocaust Museum?
You'll have to ask Dan that. Certainly would be somebody. It'd be nice if somebody donated the whole set. That would be really nice.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
If someone were to donate that, we would very graciously accept it.
Phyllis, how many times did you say Brundabar was performed at the camps?
Somewhere, I want to say 55 times, but I don't know if that's true or not. But it was many times. You know, there were a lot of children imprisoned there, and they gave the children something to do. I remember when Opera Theater did it, they had a woman there who had been the cat in one of the original performances. So there are some people still alive that took part in that opera.
And if I remember correctly, they did it here at, I think it was at Coca a number of years ago with the group of local children.
I don't know if they did it at Coca. I know they did it at Opera Theater.
I do, because I was there.
Okay, well, maybe it was before 2009.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I wasn't as involved as I was in 2009. I guess. It's a very good opera. It's really a great device for children. When Opera Theater did it, they used an adult as Brundabar, but all the other people in it were children. Anything else?
Do we have any other questions today?
Was Ullman's opera, The Emperor of Atlantis, performed?
I don't know. Who asked me that? That Robert Bible, of
Yes,
course.
she wrote an opera I have a recording of it. It's The
What-
Emperor of Atlantis.
I think I just saw that they're doing that at the Atlanta Opera.
What was the name of that again?
The Emperor of Atlantis.
I don't know that. I'm not familiar with that.
And Harriet Snyder has a question. At Ravenna in Chicago, they performed a work composed in a camp. This work was performed for the guards at the camp, and I don't remember the details. Harriet, you want to speak to that?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm sure it happened, but I don't.
Can I, let's see.
As I said, there were operas, more than one, written in the camps.
Yes, it was performed in its complete. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, well, that's because there's a reason. Oh, excuse me. Okay. This was performed at Ravinia, this outdoor venue, which I know you know, Phyllis. And I don't remember the details, but the guards were entranced with it and they performed it for them for some reason. They let them play the instruments and everything. I think it was an opera, but I wish I knew the details, but I thought maybe you might know of it.
I'm sorry, but I don't.
That's okay.
Somebody else?
I really enjoyed your presentation very much.
At some of the camps, the musicians actually played while the prisoners marched to the gas chambers.
Wow.
Oh,
It probably happened at Auschwitz, I guess.
Well, if anyone, does anyone else have a question today? We're getting close to the time here. And Phyllis, thank you so very much. This was a wonderful program. And it was just so beautiful, and appreciate it very much.
My daughter, Sherry, for being my computer person, operating the computer.
Hi, everyone.
While
We do have a couple more questions here. Robert Feibel, do you have something you want to say? No. Okay, no one else? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending today. Stephen, do you have anything you need to say? Thank you. Okay, thank you. We'll see everyone. Bye.